Can you believe it? Another unarmed black man just gunned down by the police, and in Minnesota, no less. Do they even care? I mean, he was a good boy. He didn't do nothing. I mean, come on. He was pulled over because he had an air freshener in his vehicle, and then he was shot dead by those malicious police officers. Well, of course, it always boils down to the basic truth that there's always three sides to every story: yours, mine, and the truth. And it's not that the police officers were completely in the right. We'll be tearing into this bitch in a minute. And it wasn't that Daunte Wright was a good boy who didn't do nothing. It's, of course, somewhere in the middle. So what did we know? Well, here was the narrative. His mother, some rather Kirby-looking motherfucker, Katie Wright, who is pictured right in the middle. She is the lovely looking woman. I should give her a little bit more credit. Her son, her good boy, just got horrifically gunned down by a woefully unqualified female police officer, who actually, we will play the video for it right now. It is such a who gives a fuck thing, right? And I'm going to play it with the sound on too, because that's important, because you're going to be able to hear that this retarded bitch thought that the fucking thing that she was holding in her hand was a taser and not a 9mm. Listen, if you're that incompetent, also we're going to be able to see, and I'll just start playing it right here. You can see that this lady is, there's barely any graphic content. This lady is short, and I don't want my police officers to be looking like that. And the fact that there are, two cops that are probably just about 6 feet tall, they should be the ones, okay? But I'd understand why you wouldn't want to put the small female cop off to the side where the white officer is. And in fact, it's the black officer that takes Daunte out of the vehicle, because we'll get to the reasons why that's the case. And as you can see here, he was going to be arrested. I'll just let it play here for a minute, okay? And then, okay, we're just going to stop it here for a second. Why is she coming over? Why can't this guy... This is again, and we're just going to go off on a little bit of a diatribe here, the one that I probably already got planned, and if you guys have been watching for a while, you can probably know this one's going to be coming. I want my police officers to be better than me. As you can tell, I'm a rather large gentleman. Right there's a door, and it's a standard fucking door in and of itself. I'm 6.5 feet tall. I'm 2.25. I could give you my bench and my squat if you guys really are that interested, but know that it's fairly substantial. I think the police officers should be able to arrest somebody like me, even if they didn't have all the gadgets on their fucking belt. I want people who are highly qualified, who are very skilled, who only have to go to a weapon in case that another weapon is present. Like if some asshole is running at you with a knife, like what happened in Philadelphia that sparked those riots. I bet you forgot about that little incident that happened right before the election. Or even Jacob Blake going back to his vehicle to retrieve a knife that was in there. But that was another situation where if you would have had, big officers, guys who are trained in some sort of a martial art, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, judo, I don't give a fuck, something that you can take somebody to the ground, have them temporarily pass out if they get a little bit too avarice with the situation, cuff them, throw them in the vehicle, take them to either the hospital or to the precinct. I really don't care. I want them to be able to do that. Like I said, if they're wearing the badge or if they're not. I don't think that that's too much to ask for people who are supposedly there to uphold the law. I don't think that we should be lowering standards just to accommodate the broad who you're going to see here very quickly couldn't tell the difference between a taser and a gun. Fucking unbelievable. But yeah, we'll let the rest of this play. So as you can see right now, maybe we'll just back up about 10 seconds here. So when she wanders over, I don't know why, because this little dude's deciding that he's going to try to play Mr. Escape from the police officer, large black officer, by the way. What is she trying to do there? Okay, yeah, so he breaks free, and then I'll let you listen here for a second. So did you catch that? Taser, taser, taser. I'm going to tase ya. I'm going to tase ya. Bang, bang. I think she shot once or twice. It's really tough to tell. But regardless, yeah, he ended up crashing later. She's like, oh shit, I shot him. And you can kind of see there on the fish-eyed lens, there's the black cop. He's like, what the fuck did you just do? Did you know what you just fucking did? But now that you have that out of the way, Okay, what did you surmise from that? Okay, so the information that we had to begin with, he was pulled over just because he had a air freshener in the window. We'll get to that as well. That was fucking retarded. But no, he was a criminal, a thug, somebody who had a warrant out for his arrest, actually. This right here, Daunte Wright, okay? Carry possession pistol without permit, public place, a gross misdemeanor. Fleeing a peace officer by means other than a motor vehicle. So he ran away from him, okay? Now, if Biden's allowed to put in his red flag laws, if he's allowed to close his gun show loopholes or whatever else he wants to, more people like this are going to be created because they're not going to have their firearm without a permit, right? So again, all of these new gun control pieces of legislation are just going to create more criminals, and that's not to say people who are going to have an entire fucking armory that they're going to have to register if HR 127 and some other executive orders come into place. That's not to say that, because crazy people are going to do crazy stuff regardless of the methods in which they can. And then he also ran away from the police officers. So clearly he was doing something on the road, right? And then that led to them pulling him over. Okay, ran the plates, figured out who was in there. This immediately pops up. There's a warrant out for his arrest because he skipped his court date. They know that he has an illegal firearm on him. They know that he has a tendency to flee from police officers. Hence why there were 3 officers there to arrest him. One, to make sure that whoever was in the passenger seat, if there was somebody who was in there, I couldn't tell for sure. Or maybe that officer was on the other side just in case he wanted to flee through the passenger side. But anyways, yeah, they know this guy's history, okay? And all of this could have been avoided too if he would have just been cuffed. If he would have just been thrown into the police cruiser, okay? He would have had his day in court. He wouldn't have been shot and he wouldn't have crashed his vehicle later. But no. That was the narrative, right? That he had a freshener in his window, right? And even stupid Nancy Mace, who the name immediately rang a bell, right? And it's like, Nancy Mace, oh, I've heard that before. And then you take a look at her profile just above my head here. A new voice of the GOP. Sure. Congresswoman from South Carolina, 1, single mom, businesswoman, former Waffle House waitress, Citadel, author, conservatist, conservationist, low county first. Yeah. So, what was her tweet? I didn't realize air freshener was illegal in Minnesota. This is these fucking low IQ takes from these fucking broads. Honestly, okay? A lady who shot him, a lady with a bad take, a lady with a history of bad takes. Nancy Mace says Trump put all of our lives at risk. That was her big statement. That's why the name popped into my head. She was one of these, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to contest the count on January 6th. And then after the insurrection happened, oh no, Trump put all of our lives at risk. Don't need to listen to anything else. I hope she gets primaried. I hope she gets taken out, and I'll have to look at her Democratic challenger, because I could very well be supporting him or her, because there's no way, there's no coming back. The first time, that was on you, okay? You are already on the radar, but then having a hot take like that, no, there's no coming back from that. And then you got Oregon Senator Jeff Merkley. Daunte Wright should still be alive today. He was stopped after having an air freshener, ? I'm holding his loved ones in my heart and my prayers. Yeah, that was from not that long ago, after it was thoroughly debunked that was not the case. And it even gets weirder after that. And then he added a little addendum to this initial tweet. His death is a tragedy and a painful reminder of the work we must continue to do to root out systemic racism and make sure this community is just and equal for all. Yeah, but what about the fact that he had a warrant out? The fact that he evaded police capture before? Or the fact that he didn't even have an air freshener in the windows? Sucks to suck. You love to see it. But yeah, here's a little bit more of the background before we get into what the aftermath of this has been so far, because it's really weird. Minnesota police officer who fatally shot a 20-year-old man during a traffic stop on April 11th meant to use her taser, not her handgun. That's what we could deduce from the video that we just watched. The department's top official said on April 12th, video footage of the police officer's interaction with Daunte Wright, who was pulled over for a violation, showed he was being handcuffed outside his car in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, before he eluded an officer's grip and jumped back into the driver's seat. 2 officers tried getting Wright out of the car when one used their guns discharged. Oh, and one of their guns discharged. Holy shit, I just shot him. A female officer. Listen, women are great for a lot of things, but like I outlined in the beginning, how I like my police officers, I could not find a single woman who could fit that description. Honestly. I'm sure somebody could cite the source of some fucking big Amazonian bitch who could probably pin me down. But those broads are 1 in a fucking million. And they got better things to do than being a police officer. It's not to discount any police officers that are out there. But I don't need some little broad who has a fucking firearm and is going out on a power trip and just normally needing to be backed up by much larger officers in order to exert her power. The officer, who wasn't publicly named, probably good for her, but at the same time she's on administrative leave and hopefully she never comes back. I think that perhaps a manslaughter charge is probably in order. Really, if you're that fucking stupid, if you're that goddamn negligent, you think that you have a taser. Tasers look significantly different, okay? They're big, they're striped, they're yellow, and you can't tell the difference between the pull of a trigger on a gun and on a taser. You have no business having access to either. So Police Chief Tim Gannon said in his presser during this encounter, however, the officer withdrew her handgun instead of their taser. For informational purposes, we train with our handguns on our dominant side and our taser on our weak side. Okay, so if you're right-handed, you would have your firearm on your right and you would have your taser on your left. Obviously, that's how escalation would work. That'd be fairly fucking straightforward, right? If you're going to be attempting to use the weaker method, you go to the weaker hand. That just makes common sense. Something that this lady clearly doesn't know. As I watched the video and listened to the officer's commands, it is my belief that the officer had the intention to deploy their taser, and that's what every reasonable person would concede, but instead shot Mr. Wright with a single bullet. This appears to me, from what I viewed in the officer's reaction and distress immediately after, that this was an accidental discharge that resulted in the I wouldn't say tragic death. Again, we have pictures of this guy, and I don't think it's any fucking great loss to society. Okay, yeah, there was somebody else in the vehicle as well. A female passenger was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries from the crash. Occupants of the other vehicle were uninjured because he drove several blocks before crashing into another vehicle. So thank God nobody else was fucking hurt, because hey, okay, say you got tased. Say that the taser fucking misfired or something like that. He gets away. A high-speed chase ensues. He plows through somebody at a crosswalk, or he plows into something a little bit higher speed. Those are all hypothetical situations, but thankfully, it didn't result in the death of anybody else. Frankly, Wright, I'm not shedding a single tear. But yeah, the living stereotype that is Katie Wright, his mother, claimed soon that after the shooting, her son was shot for having an air freshener in the car. I don't know, I guess it just smelled like pot and illegal guns. And how the fuck would she even know that anyways? Like, none of this makes sense. None of it fucking makes sense whatsoever. I heard scuffling, and I heard the police say, "Officers, Daunte, don't run." And the other officer said, "Put the phone down," and I hung it up. She told reporters on April 11th, and a minute later I called his girlfriend, answered, and it was the passenger. Oh, that was the passenger, and said he'd been shot, and she put it on the driver's side, and my son was laying there lifeless. Okay, that's tragic, I'd imagine, but yeah, that's what resulted, right? Riots. Of course, everybody's seen this coming. I suppose they're all kind of stretching their legs, because all these people know that they're going to be getting ready, because we're going to be getting a verdict. We're going to get some kind of movement in the Chauvin trial in the next couple of weeks, and they got some spring training to take care of right now. I guess that's what we're going to call it. It's kind of like batting practice right now. They're out there shagging fly balls, trying to throw pieces of concrete at officers, so everybody's in good shape for the upcoming riots. I've seen conflicting reports that the National Guard have been deployed for tonight, because there's also talk of them going into the suburbs even further and stirring some shit up, taking more pages out of Portland, Oregon's book. And I'd imagine probably because, well, Antifa probably didn't have time to mobilize, and there's documented evidence that they like to go from city to city, hence why, I forget which one it was, all of these shootings just seem to run together, right? But there was the van that came over from Portland, Oregon, and it went somewhere. It might have been Philadelphia, but I can't be sure. It's inconsequential to the story. But it was the Antifa kitchen, even though they were pulled over and they had a whole bunch of explosives and different chemicals in the van to make Molotov cocktails. No, I'd imagine if there's going to be a big old riot, there was a significant riot, and we got pictures of that as well. It's probably going to take place tonight, hence why there's been National Guard rumblings, but I can't find anything concrete, at least at this time. And by the time that you guys see this video anyways, it'll be later into the evening. And even though there's been a curfew to go into effect tonight, and once again, by the time that you're watching this, the curfew's probably already been set down, but authorities in Minnesota are imposing curfews to try to prevent violence from taking place a second night following, yes, Daunte Wright's shuffling off this mortal coil. A curfew will be in place on Monday night in Ramsey, Hennepin, and Anoka counties, which include the cities of St. Paul, Minneapolis, and Brooklyn Center, where the shooting took place. It's almost like they know what would happen in the Twin Cities, because there's just this bubbling rage, and they're still allowing the George Floyd Memorial, or whatever the fuck they're calling the autonomous zone there. They're still allowing that to take place because fucking Minnesota's... I've been there once for about a week for some stupid job training in October. It was kind of nice, but it goes without saying. The curfew goes into effect Monday, April 12th at 7 p.m. and ends the next day at 6 a.m. Sure, that's going to stop everything from happening. Curfew is imposed in all St. Paul public places. During curfew, no travel is allowed in any public street or place. Yes, to avoid more scenes like this. And, oh, how peaceful. I bet you these people don't even know why the fuck they're there. They're probably going to bring, I don't know, how many different little green tree air fresheners. And then also, yeah, the Twins, T-Wolves, and Wild games are postponed because, all of professional sport are woke and awful at this point. So, yeah, long story short, I think everybody in this situation sucks. I think that the officers should be better trained. I think that they shouldn't be employing weaklings whose first instinct is to pull out a piece of equipment in order for them to do their job. I think that the little hood rat that got shot, I don't know. Like I said, I shed no tears. Should have just went along and all of this could have been fucking avoided. Oh, but there's no equal justice in the fucking courts. Yeah, sure, whatever. Stop running drugs. We got pictures from his Facebook page, right, where he's shown flashing money. Oh yeah, I'm so cool, I'm so great. Yep, look at all this money I have. Hopefully it was... Oh, you can see they're $100 bills, so, you know what, a not insignificant amount of money, and I don't know why you'd buy a fucking Buick when you're 20 years old. Oh, and it looks like there's a little bit of breaking information that a shooting was ruled a homicide. Yes, obviously, okay? And as we've seen from the Chauvin trial, that really means nothing. One of the 5 different tick boxes that can be made. More importantly, Brooklyn Center was completely and utterly rioted, looted, burnt, all in the sake of justice. So yeah, we'll see what happens overnight, and we'll see if the National Guard is there. Tom Walz, the governor of Minnesota, has already put out a statement that said, it was tragic, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, it's tragic that another black life was taken by officers. Dickhead. I'd imagine if the National Guard does get called, it's not going to be that many. It'll probably just be one transport truck vehicle, and who knows, maybe they'll have tasers this time. Somebody would have Kyle Rittenhouse on speed dial. Anyways, guys, with that said, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.